we. I'm 1 in 1. I'm 1 for 1. Think of it.
Tonight, we're getting more details about the explosion at a crucial bridge linking the U.S. and Canada. The FBI saying tonight that there is no connection to terrorism in that fiery car crash and that no explosive materials were found at the scene.
A newborn baby to come out into the world and wrap the baby and make the baby comfortable and then talk to the mother and talk to the father and then execute the German Shepherd. It's hard to believe.
I want to talk about lies and videotape. I want to talk about Fox News.
What I've been told is that this was an attempted terrorist attack. They believe the 2 people in that car, who are now both dead after that large explosion there, have packed that car full of explosives.
I know you probably don't want to hear it again, but I can't express how often this happens. Sometimes a story just can't get by me without me saying something about it. And this is an example.
Instead, we're learning that a 2022 Bentley 2-door coupe entered from the U.S. side and quickly accelerated before hitting a curb and going airborne. Now, Governor Hochul says a resident from Western New York was involved in that crash. But in the hours before we had a clear picture of what was going on here, it didn't stop one network from linking it to possible terror.
Now, admittedly, when I saw this story, it's the first thing that I thought. But I don't really have the resources to go much farther than an actual reporter.
In there have packed that car full of explosives. As for what types of explosives, we're not sure just yet.
Obviously, that's not something that they do at Fox News. Hell, that's not even something they have at Fox News. Reporting? By reporters? Come on. I should have called this Sex, Lies, and Videotape. Because there's no reporters. There's scum-sucking asshole twats, and then there's pussy. I mean, that's why all these guys keep getting fired. Roger Ailes to Bill O'Reilly. I think we all know there was some Tucker Carlson stuff going on there. From the Fox News Tucker file, which was very interesting. But I digress.
We don't know how long the people who perpetrated this attack have been in this country.
Well, like a lot of fine people, I've read Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. And in Rules for Radicals, he says, before an operative can make any progress, you have to obliterate the middle, because the people in the middle will only slow you down. And so it doesn't matter if you're behind, you force people to pick sides. What the Biden administration and his Justice Department have done is they have forced people to pick sides. They have obliterated the middle.
Did this motherfucker just quote Saul Alinsky? Jesus Christ.
Remember that most of these terrorist organizations, they're Gen Z, right? They're young. If you look at if you look at what Hamas puts out online, they're online on TikTok, and they're very sophisticated. It could be that these people were just inspired. It's pretty easy to figure out how to do this online, unfortunately.
But what would you expect from a MAGA Republican? I mean, every one of them loves Andren. And of course, they would love Saul Alinsky.
They've truly dyed in the wool the support for Trump, and, you know, everyone tells me, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Like, every time somebody says that to me, I reach for a revolver.
And we will then be sued, and they will sue us in the Ninth Circuit, even though it shouldn't be there. And we will possibly get a bad ruling, and then we'll get another bad ruling, and then we'll end up in the Supreme Court, and hopefully we'll get a fair shake, and we'll win in the Supreme Court, just like the band.
One's national security. This one's different. I used to have these same documents myself as Speaker of the House. So I think this goes beyond just some petty thing. Now, My guess is Trump will play this politically pretty well and make this weaponization argument and make this about Joe Biden's Justice Department. And that's going to have some political saliency. So I don't think Marco's wrong in saying that there's some political sting here. But I can't help but think the weight and the baggage of all of this.
But this gets back to a previous video. Divide and conquer? Are you fucking serious? These people have been doing that for many, many years. It was actually invented by a guy who worked for Reagan and for Nixon. What the fuck was his name? I can't remember. Well, this fucking guy.
I would approach that issue as a statistician or a political scientist, or no, as a psychologist, which I'm not, is how abstract you handle the race thing. In other words, you start out, and now y'all aren't quoting me on this. All right, I won't hear it. You start out in 1954 by saying nigger, nigger, nigger. By 1968, you can't say nigger. That hurts your backfire, so you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff. And you're getting so abstract now, you're talking about cutting taxes, and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. And subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than nigger, you know. So any way you look at it, race is coming on the back burner.
He was racist. And he knew that racism's not going to roll anymore. So you changed the language. And that worked for a long time. You know, instead of estate tax for the rich billionaires, they called it the death tax. And people were like, well, shit, death tax? That doesn't sound right.
This is the White House, and we want to win, and we do want to win.
Yeah. Oliver, wow. I mean, what can you tell us about how long they were reporting this as a terror attack so confidently, and how many people this bad information could have reached?
Yeah, I mean, this was irresponsible reporting. This was reckless reporting. And by all accounts, it was inaccurate reporting. We now know that the governor is saying there was no indication that there was a terrorist attack, but that's not what Fox News initially reported, and reported for hours. I want to give you a sense of how they reported this. Early on in the afternoon, they sent a push alert to all their mobile phones, people with the mobile app installed, and it said that the New York vehicle explosion is attempted terror attack, according to sources of theirs. They plastered this on the front page of their highly trafficked website. And of course, Fox is a very highly rated channel, so millions of people probably saw this information just from Fox News alone.
The highway tax became the gasoline tax. Well, gasoline tax? Isn't gas already too high? Never mind that even though the tax was only 18 cents a gallon, they raised the price of gasoline $1. And Bill Clinton got blamed for it. Not Exxon, somehow. But that's a video for another time.
20,000+ people showed up. Were you as surprised as I was?
Absolutely, I was. We had no idea. Complete word of mouth, and the estimates are anywhere between 20 and 45,000 people had assembled.
People were misinformed by this inaccurate report, and that's why Fox News really owes their audience and everyone else a correction. But they still have not actually issued a correction. You know, they quietly edited out the huge mistakes on their digital online pieces.
Holy shit. Anywhere between 20 and 45,000 people, or as the Washington Post put it, 10,000. All right.
This is about Fox just making shit up.
People didn't just come to hear speakers. They then pivoted, fanned out, went into the Capitol, went into the office buildings, were very polite, went from door to door to door, knocked on the doors. We handed out action.
And that's really what separates, Abby, I think, a real credible news organization, one that you can trust, from a outlet that really doesn't have much credibility these days in reporting facts. When you make a mistake, you're transparent with the audience. Fox is not doing that. They made a bad mistake, and they're really hiding
I
hiding.
didn't mean to interrupt. That was weird. Because when that clip started, it was a clear fall day in Washington, D.C. Not a cloud in the sky. The leaves have changed. It's well attended with sparks. All of a sudden, the trees turn green again.
And by God, that's what they did. This bitch actually turned around and tried to blame her sources. That somehow she had bad sources and it's their fault. That she didn't verify fucking anything. She got a fucking tweet from who knows who the fuck. And went on the air with it. And then Fox talked about it for hours. Because no one at Fox does reporting. If there's a tidbit, a morsel, an itsy bitsy anything that goes with their narrative, they run with it.
If I didn't know any better, I would think they just put 2 different days together and acted like they didn't. Where have I seen that last footage before?
This is just a fraction. There are people meeting all across the country. This is just in.
Did they come into the country legally? Did they come across illegally and claim asylum? Were they some of the nearly 1 million gotaways who've come into this country?
Hannity used footage of a bigger crowd from a totally different event to make last week's GOP healthcare rally appear more heavily attended.
Get that shit on the air. Doesn't matter if it's true. Does it help Donald Trump? We're doing it.
Beautiful sight to see.
Notice, and by the way, in the middle of the day on Thursday.
Yeah, or Saturday. 2 months ago at a completely different rally.
I mean, you actually saw him in one of those clips, and Carrie Lake out in Arizona, they amplified the claim that this could be terror on social media. That was wrong, too.
It used to be a deal where they were just all about helping Republicans. That's why Roger Ailes built it. Hell, he worked in the Nixon administration, then worked for Reagan. And then convinced Ronald Reagan that he was going to make a network that would change the narrative. No longer would it just be about the news. It would have opinion. But one thing, Ronald, I need you to do for me is get rid of the fairness doctrine. Because we don't want to give both sides. We want to give one side. And I don't care if the damn story has 20 sides. We're going to give one side.
Watch what happens when you let the tape run to the end.
We handed out actual pages from the bill. People would take one page, and then they carried that page and asked members of Congress, can you read this to me and explain it to me?
Doesn't matter that it was just a really high-powered car and a dumb fuck who shouldn't be driving it. What matters is that millions of people heard terrorist attack. And the reason why I report everything different than Fox News is because I'm not a fucking twat. By the way, Sean Hannity is one of the biggest slumlords in America. He has bought up a ton of little shitty trailer parks. Look it up. He is pushing a billionaire. And it's not from Fox. It's from what he did with it. Living off the poorest of the poor. He's a fucking twat. So I can't be that.
More Americans die choking on food than from terrorism. They're 7 times more likely to be killed by a lawnmower. More Americans die from accidents in bathtubs than from attacks by terrorists.
Boy, you should know what you're for. Bring me to your daddy. Ah! Dare you leave me?
That was definitely wrong. And, if you look at Vivek's page, all those tweets about the border and possible terror attack, those are still live on his page. And he's the guy who purports to apparently care about the truth. Why hasn't he corrected this to his audience? In Fox News itself, they were talking about Islamic terrorism on the air. I mean, this was not a small mistake. This was a huge mistake. If it was happening at a serious news organization, if, say, the New York Times or CNN had made a mistake like this, there would be a huge autopsy. People would be suspended, maybe lose their jobs over this. But, in the right-wing information space, there really is little accountability for getting stories wrong, even if you get them this wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it fit a particular narrative. It just turned out that narrative wasn't true.
Tell you what, though, maybe I could, you know, be the legs. Have you seen my legs? They're spectacular. Much like my face. Gorgeous, really. I know. But I don't think that I'm going to be able to do the proper tailpipe work that those girls do. And that's the problem. I guess I'm not going to have that we report, you decide Fox integrity. I'm Zachariah, Lone Star Liberal. Y'all take it easy.
It's a real video. The threat is real, and that is what the president is talking about.
And then they carried that page and asked members of Congress, can you read this to me and explain it to me?
Wow, those people really are mad.
All those things that you predict are going to come true, and a lot of people that have been laying out the case against us are going to be very embarrassed.